Ultimately, all they really wanted was to be able to say the R word with impunity. That was why they voted.
Marc motherfucking Maron. The king of podcasting, y'all. Marc motherfucking Maron.
I've not yet begun to defile myself.
Marc Maron sucks. Let's be honest. I'm not a fan, and I've never have been a fan. I don't know what it is. It's like Mark Levin. It's the same reason. Maybe it's a Mark thing. It's the same reason I dislike Mark Levin. They just have this like very condescending tone in their voice of like they're talking down to you. Like, listen, peon, I'm Marc Maron, and this is how it is. I'm Mark Levin, and this is why Israel's ball sweat tastes so good. You know what I mean? This guy, though, I think he is the most bitter and outraged at Joe Rogan because he was the first podcast guy. If you remember, Obama was on his podcast. It was like a big deal. What was it? OMG, or I forget what his podcast is called. But Maron was like the first bit, like he was a big deal. It was like, he was in early on the podcast scene. And then this meathead UFC martial arts guy comes in and totally steals his thunder. And a lot of people think Rogan influenced the election and stuff. And so Maron is just seething with rage and jealousy that Rogan kind of took that to a level that he thought he kind of was at, but like is still steeped in this worldview of 10 years ago because he's lived in his garage for the last 10 years and doesn't talk to anyone who doesn't just completely lick his asshole because he's famous, So I recently saw this clip of him, and one of my brunch libs friends was sharing it. And I think it's really illustrative of why liberals keep losing elections to people like Donald Trump. They just have this condescending tone, like, yo, you peons don't know any better. Let me tell you how it is. And I think it's just, I don't know. It reminds me of like a middle school teacher or even like a elementary school teacher where they just feel like they have the right to talk down to you. And even myself, like I see myself as a pretty well-traveled, bright individual, but I would never have this energy with anyone. And I think that's why Joe Rogan is so popular, because he has a curious, like very deferential energy. Not deferential, but like, hey, I'm here to listen to you talk. And the show isn't about Rogan. And that's where people that are trying to smear him even, I think, make a huge mistake to attack the person who's doing the interview when it's always about the interviewee. It's always about the guest on a show like Rogan's. So anyway, I'm getting way off the rails here, but let me play you this video of Marc Maron that kind of triggered me.
People in my business who were single issue Republican voters, and their issue was twofold. I mean, they were anti-woke, against any policy or language that could help the vulnerable get a leg up, and God knows that makes sense. So, but they also were very worried about their free speech. They didn't want their free speech to be infringed upon, which it never was. I mean, they'd say things and there'd be cultural pushback, and they were like, that shouldn't be allowed.
Okay, it never was. We've already kind of proven that that's not the case. So again, this is one of those things where the brunch liberal cats who are like, this guy would probably still be wearing a mask if it were up to him, and everyone in the audience would. But again, let me let him finish. I'm
really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos.
Ultimately, all they really wanted was to be able to say the R word with impunity. That was why they voted.
So again, this is the problem. This is the problem that Democrats and liberals have. All they wanted was the R word, to use the R word. That's like the condescending kind of like smug liberal like take, slow twirl.
But along with that, comes the collapse of the federal government, the destabilization of the global economy, tens of thousands of people being deported to places they might not have even come from, the actual suppression of speech and rights of LGBTQ people and women, and the rise of authoritarianism. And sometimes I feel like asking them, was it worth it, you fucking retard?
Okay, so we'll stop there. To start, I just want to say that now that it's okay, no one uses the word retard more than liberals. Whenever I commented offhandedly on one of Kyle Kalinski's posts the other day, and there's like 10 dudes in the comments calling me a retard, to the point where I said, hey, I'm happy that liberals are finally cool with using the word retard again. Good for you guys. I'm glad we've crossed that Rubicon finally. You're supposed to be a comedian. So right off the bat, reply to any Obama or Hillary sycophant and they'll immediately call you a retard. But there's just this whole underlying bitterness with him. And then that doesn't even get to the completely warped worldview about how all people wanted when they voted for Trump was to be able to say the R word. I love how he puts it like that. And then he ends up saying it anyway at the end. What's the cleverness in that? He says R word up to the point where he finally calls conservatives retarded. It's like the South Park. I don't know if you've seen the South Park did a really great episode in the recent years. They haven't been doing great, but they were making fun of how liberals were calling Trump supporters or Trump a R word, F word. The both, and I'm doing it now because I don't want my stream getting shut off. But I'm just saying the most obscene liberal words. They're fine calling Trump that because they hate him so much. So it's kind of like this interesting dynamic there. But then you have, listen, is he right about the rise of authoritarianism and stuff? Yes, of course. The deportation thing, the Obama administration, they deported way more people than they called him the deporter in chief. And again, it's this is why this type of outrage falls flat, because where were you when Obama was deporting people? You didn't care because it was black president and everyone was, yay, we got a black guy doing it. It's cool now, which is why I'm glad again that the Democrats didn't win, because it puts a friendly mask on the empire. And people like Marc Maron act like, oh, everything's just great. And I think that's the thing that makes me the most angry with these brunch liberal people is they act like everything was fine and then Trump came along and ruined it.
I've never seen anything like it. I've seen a lot of bad ones. I've gone to a lot of hurricanes, a lot of tornadoes. I've never seen anything like this. This is a bad one.
So I think Mark is just angry because he's like, I had a president on my podcast. Why doesn't anyone listen to me? Why am I not influencing elections? And well, Mark, it's probably because you're a smug, self-righteous cunt. And Joe Rogan is the complete opposite of that. He's the complete polar opposite. And only people with received opinions of Joe Rogan think that he's some kind of dumb meathead right-winger who fucking Nazi or who says the N-word a lot and hates black people or what. It's such a received opinion. It's clear that you've never listened to what the guy actually says. And I think the majority of the public is past that. And you see that in the dynamic with the Plattner thing. It's all these kind of gossipy, well, he did a thing once that's offensive. All that stuff falls by the wayside now because who fucking cares what you think is offensive, you self-righteous cunts? No one cares anymore. It's kind of like what Vance said earlier with if everything's Jew hatred, everything, then everything's racism, then nothing is racism. You've blown this whistle so many times, you just look ridiculous when you do it now. So, and then when you scratch the surface with any of these people, Tucker Carlson's another great example. Someone who has been smeared as a white nationalist, which is not a white supremacist, but is suggestive that he is a white supremacist because he has this crazy worldview that we should actually have a functioning border and not just let people pour in so that corporations can use them for cheap labor and then deport them when they're not worthy anymore and totally kill the labor market. And there's one of the biggest problems I think we have in politics now is so many people still live in 10 years ago, in 2015, where it's like, it's the fascists versus the commies. There's no fucking commies in mainstream American politics, period. The Democrats are just as right-wing, if not more, than the Republicans. The Green Party is like mildly socialist. There might be socialist, even the socialist party's co-opted. So like this idea that there's like commies versus fascists in electoral politics is ridiculous. But again, the smart money is on vote anyone but a Democrat or Republican. That's where the smart money is in the future of electoral politics. Just to throw a wrench in the system, because Democrats and Republicans are still going to win. But if you stop voting for those parties, they're either going to have to change or they're going to become irrelevant. People are going to start seeing the data and going, oh shit, like no one's voting for the Democrats anymore. The Green Party got almost as big of a percentage in the last election as the Dems did. Even if they got like, if it was 30 to 15%, or you know what I mean, 60 to 30 or something, like it would be amazing. So I think that's the mentality, like if you want to shift anything in electorally, but also I think Jimmy's right when he says electoral politics ain't going to change shit, and it's going to have to be real like civic action or civil action or whatever you call it. But enough with the received opinions, guys. And Marc Maron sucks. Wait, what a douchebag to think that, you know, you're the real arbiter of truth. If you listen to Joe Rogan talk, again, the reason that people like him are so popular, and I think Tucker saw this to his credit and took a cue from this of like, hey, I'm going to be a curious listener. My goal, and Judge Napolitano is another good example of this. Someone who's like, I'm just going to have a bunch of different voices come on and tell their view. And when you start to do that and your whole, you know, day is just listening to the views of other people, suddenly your views start to change because you're like, holy shit, this guy is actually convincing me on some shit. Tucker has said that publicly, that Jimmy Dore changed his view on Julian Assange, or that, you know, and good on him. Again, it's like that kind of honest and open dialogue and a point where you can say like, wow, this person said some shit to me that really changed my mind. Candace Owens, for example, credited Bassem Youssef with changing her view on what was going on in the Middle East. And now you see these people, like I'm not going to name names again, but I saw one of my lefty friends like indicting someone who's currently like against the genocide. And I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want this person to feel called out or anything. But like this person, like all you have to do is look at their opinions on October 7th. Basically what they said is the real barometer or something is what they said on October 7th. And I disagree with that. Because for a lot of people, that was the point of like awakening, where they went, oh, this is going on. Oh, okay. And at the time they're like, fuck Hamas or whatever. But then a couple of weeks later, they're like, wait, what are they doing? Oh shit. Like, wait, then they started like someone like, I'm not going to name names again, but I don't think that holding people accountable again for their views 2 years ago is productive. Especially when they're willing to admit they were wrong and come to a new and more, you know, awakened or self-realized opinion.